ties in. Now, some of my take on this story is still in the rumour stages, but let's see where it goes. Eddie Hearn, today is a major day for our family as my dad steps aside as chairman of MATCHROOM Sport, and I take up the role. Anyone that knows me is well aware of what MATCHROOM means to me and our family. I look forward to continue the global growth of this astonishing family business. So Barry's going to kick back, chill out, and take a more advisory role while Eddie gets stuck into the day-to-day runnings of MATCHROOM. So Barry decides to step aside as this news comes in. According to Michael Benson, and it is still in the rumour stage, Eddie Hearn has reportedly agreed a 9-figure, 5-year broadcast deal with DAZN in the UK and is leaving Sky. It's claimed this starts July the 1st and does not include Anthony Joshua or Dillian Whyte, whose deals are separate negotiations, according to Michael Benson, according to The Athletic. Now, AJ, for all intents and purposes, is a DAZN fighter. He doesn't have an exclusive contract with them. Neither does Dillian. Dillian doesn't have an exclusive contract with MATCHROOM. Now, it looks to me like Eddie and Barry were waiting for Eddie's Sky contract to come to an end, and then Barry was going to step back and hand over the darts, the snooker, the table tennis, and whatever they got cracking over there on MATCHROOM. Hand it over to Eddie, who may have a deal in place with DAZN to put the darts, the snooker, the table tennis, or whatever else they got going on there on DAZN, and the boxing. I think for sentimental reasons, it's kind of a classy way for Barry to walk away from his relationship with Sky. Where will that leave Sky? Well, there's a couple of pretenders who could try and claim the throne in Eddie's absence. MTK, the Sallins and Wasserman. If they give Mick Hennessy a bigger budget, he could do it. Or it could be a total outsider, somebody who you just wouldn't have thought of. You never know. Expect the unexpected in boxing. In boxing, the politics can switch up on you in an instant, you know. Like that Super League news in football caused a big stir. If somebody said that in boxing, I mean, okay, we'll see. It wouldn't be no big deal because the Cowboys come out at night and day in boxing, sanctioning bodies, their regular titles, their interim this nonsense, their franchise. You know, Al Heyman allegedly wants to do a little breakaway thing himself. Eddie's always talking about how he admires Dana White, so he wants to do something similar too. In-house fights are a plague, especially in American boxing right now. The UK is not a big territory. Is Sky, BT, and DAZN going to be overkill, all trying to push boxing out here? Or is there room enough for all of them? In theory, we should get a better product with more competition to choose from. DAZN are going to want to put on the big hitters. That's what they want. So that love for domestic boxing that the Brits have had for years, all I can say is, if you're a young British boxer coming up, you better be really good. You better be really good because the development thing could be a thing of the past. You've got to be up and running, able to promote fights, comport yourself well, and more importantly, fight, win titles. Now, I'm sure the people who work close to Eddie at DAZN, Eddie would have told them that the British boxing fan does want to see British title fights, domestic fights contested between British boxers. You can't close that out. You know, don't try a Super League thing with boxing over here. Don't do it. You're going to get the same reaction the football fans had with the Super League. As long as crowds can get to the arenas, we want to see British title fights, Commonwealth, European, and we want to see the good prospects getting a chance on the cards to come up. We want to see that. But with the budget that DAZN is bringing, we should be seeing some really good cards. I mean, MATCHROOM and Sky have left the legacy behind them already. Some say that Eddie shouldn't put some of the cards he's put on pay-per-view, and he'll admit that too. Eddie would even say maybe he shouldn't have put this or that and this or that on pay-per-view. But right now, he doesn't really have that worry. Although I don't think DAZN are scrapping a pay-per-view platform off the table totally. He's going to be putting on some big cards, and as long as we pay our subscriptions, we'll get to see them. You know, expect the pricing to go up soon as well. once he's left Sky. If Frank Warren's right, Fury and AJ could be in August. And if Eddie's out of there by June or July or whatever the timeline on his contract is, Sky's last fight with a Matchroom fighter could be AJ versus Fury on pay-per-view. That could be the end of it. Now, I'm pretty sure, especially if AJ beats Fury, he's going to cut a nice deal with DAZN. But guys like Dylan, who probably ain't going to get cut the same kind of check from DAZN as AJ, he may opt to stay with Sky and just continue doing pay-per-view on Sky and perhaps negotiate a deal with Eddie and DAZN to broadcast the fights in America. He gets best of both worlds. A great deal. Or perhaps DAZN just cut Dylan a nice deal where he doesn't have to worry about selling pay-per-views to make his loot. So, with Sky looking like they're out the picture, it's not official, but come on, we know what's going on now. Matchroom are going to be more hands-on with their media. Live events, documentaries, fight week activity, shoulder programming, which is basically the pre-programming to an event, and the post-fight list, say for example, programming to an event. Interviews, they're going to be more hands-on now and control more of the footage for themselves. So they have a new media arm in place. It's being headed up by Katie Hearn, that could be Eddie's sister. I don't think that's his wife. They have an in-house production output called Matchroom Media, and they've hooked up with Luke Productions, who Matchroom have worked with over the years, but now they're entering a deeper partnership, is what it looks like. So you can expect to see more content on that YouTube Matchroom channel, a lot more, and on the Matchroom website. Didn't realize that Felix Cash was that big for some reason, but he seems to be towering over Bentley, who didn't seem like a small middleweight to me. And it's not just the height, his head and his shoulders just seem bigger. Way bigger than Bentley's. I'm quite shocked how Felix is making 160, actually. They clash on Saturday. British and Commonwealth titles, I believe. I'm still picking Bentley to beat Cash, but I am wondering if the size is going to play a role in how the bout is fought, because he's a big middleweight. I didn't realize he was that big. That's on BT. Should be a really good fight. And Felix Cash is the bookie's favourite. They had a sparring session years back, which Bentley said turned into a nasty affair where Felix was headbutting using the elbow. Felix denies it, but apparently it spilled out outside the ring. And it seems to have had a long-lasting effect on Bentley, and it looks like he wants some payback from what happened. So it should be good. Sam Jones has informed us that Joe Joyce has renewed his management deal with S-Jam Boxing. He says it's been one hell of a ride so far. We are excited to continue the journey with Joe. Well, all that's good news, but what do you have to manage if you ain't got no news about this USEC WBO interim fight? What's happening with that? Looks like Saudi Arabia. Bob Arum said it. Eddie didn't answer, but he seemed to be in line with what Bob was saying. Frank Warren, Frank just, I don't know. I think Frank feels a bit out of the loop sometimes, maybe a bit dejected. He said, "Oh, I haven't heard anything." That Frank old school isn't it and shit. But it looks like the fight is going to happen. And let's talk about the real important things that matter. Who comes out first in, I guess, would be the challenger's role? Who comes out first? Who comes out last? Okay, so I put up the case for AJ. 10 title fights, 1 loss, 3 belts, still got the 3 straps. Put up the case for Fury. You're going to say Lineal or whatever he beat, Wilder he beat, Klitschko before AJ. Everyone can make a case. Fury's Ring Magazine champion. Or do they just flip a coin? Has it already been decided? Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter, I guess. If you're really serious about winning a fight, it doesn't matter. Is there a psychological advantage in coming out first or second for either man? Is it that deep? Let's hear your thoughts on it. JERMALL CHARLO has added Mark BRELAND. Welcome to the Lion's Den, is what Charlo said on Twitter. This would be particularly bad news for Deontay Wilder and his fan base, who would have been happy to see Mark BRELAND not work in boxing again and be able to feed himself or his family. He's got a good gig now, and I believe he has a lot to offer. I believe Charlo is a more willing student than Deontay Wilder. Just needs to get more ambition in terms of the level of opposition he's facing. You know, he needs to be more like his brother. It's a pretty good combination there, Ronnie Shields and Mark BRELAND. I guess with Rick Glazer, sometimes it's how he says things more than what he says that people have a problem with. But he does have a point here that Billy Joe Saunders is making excuses before the inevitable loss. Now, he may win the fight, and he may even put up stiffer resistance, even if he doesn't win the fight, than a lot of people think. You never know. But with a couple of weeks to go, you're talking about your purse. This is something that's supposed to be negotiated before you even go into training camp. And as somebody pointed out, he's got Daniel Kinahan looking after his affairs, who's supposed to be the man with the magic touch. You mean he didn't get Billy the type of deal he's supposed to get that wouldn't be contingent on if there was crowds there or not? I mean, why are we talking about the logistics of his purse at this stage here? This is terrible. Why are we talking about the judges at this stage here? I should be hearing, I'm going to tear up Canelo. That's all I should be hearing, is that energy. This is a boxing match. When you go in the ring, there's always a good chance you can lose. Yeah, there's only so much bases you can cover. And when you start worrying about things that you have no control over, you're in a bad place. Let Andrade fight for the belt. At least he's not going to complain. If you don't like the situation with the judges, don't fight. If you don't like your purse, don't fight. Don't get in the ring. Don't fight. But if you signed off on all these things, you have no control over them anymore. You know what I mean? Unless Eddie's done something illegal and hasn't upheld some part of the contract between him and Billy, Billy's focus should be on Canelo and Canelo only. Billy said he wanted a British judge as part of the deal. I don't know how that works though. Does Eddie appoint judges? I always thought the Nevada State Athletic Commission handles that, and referees and all that. But how much fighters come from abroad telling the British Boxing Board of Control, oh, we need a Mexican judge. We need a judge from whatever country they come from. Eddie did actually petition to try and get a British judge. I remember he did, and I've dug up the receipts. He tried to get a British judge, but he was unable to, because he doesn't commission who judges fights. He can request one, he can put up a case for why there should be one, but after that, it's out of his hands. There's some of you fucking stroking Daniel Kinahan's whatever parts of his body, I mean that metaphorically, not literally, saying he's the god who walks on water. How comes he couldn't get it? How comes everything's all on Eddie? Eddie's Billy's promoter. Daniel is his management. Don't bring it up. Get in the ring and fight like a warrior and a gladiator. And don't have inbuilt excuses before a punch is even thrown. I mean, he's acting like this is a bad deal. This is a shot at getting 3 belts, biggest purse of his career, and getting amongst the pound for pounders. You know how much boxers, even in modern day boxing, forget the black murderers road fighters or the coloured heavyweights in the early part of the 1900s. You know how much fighters have done more than Billy in recent history, are way more deserving of a fight like this. And all he can do is moan and complain? Please. All you people using this to exercise your anti-Eddie Hearn, whatever it is. A week after Friday, Sonny Edwards challenges MORUTI MTHALANE for the IBF flyweight title at the York Hall. It's a massive opportunity. MTHALANE has 39 wins, 28 knockouts, quite a high percentage for a flyweight, and 2 losses, both by stoppage. One of them losses was against Nonito Donaire. So I'm not saying you can kind of scrap that off to explain his punch resistance, but that's a prime Nonito Donaire. And the other loss was in 2004. This is a hard task for Sonny Edwards. There's no doubt about that. After losing to Donaire in 2008, MTHALANE has been undefeated. Hasn't lost. This guy picked up this same belt in 2009 until 2017, and it looks like he didn't lose it in the ring. He picked up the vacant belt again in 2018 and still has it. So, I mean, like, this is a guy who must have a fair amount of ability. I'm wondering if I've seen him. Sonny Edwards has 4 stoppages in 15 fights. It's very unlikely he's going to get this guy out of here. Very unlikely. So he's going to have to put on a dazzling display of boxing. And he's going to have to show a maturity beyond anything he's shown us as yet. MTHALANE is 38 years of age. Sonny is 25, so maybe they're banking on catching MTHALANE on the slide. But Frank Warren's got him the fight. Home territory. He can't ask for any more. Him and his brother have had a bitter falling out, apparently. And I haven't found out what it's over yet. But when Sonny was asked if Charlie will fight this year, he said, who cares? And then he was asked, is Charlie still fighting out of Steel City Gym in Sheffield? He answered, I don't know why everyone is so obsessed with asking me questions about him. I don't even speak to him. How am I supposed to know? He then claimed that the final question would be the last he mentions on the matter. Sonny said, I will let his supporters and fans maintain that belief of who they think he is and that image that he portrays on social media. Okay. Charlie, he declined to talk about the situation. Charlie said that Sonny's development was a key reason for him moving to Queensbury from MATCHROOM. He said at the time of joining, I've seen how Frank has developed Sonny from the start and all the way for his career, and he's a big name on BT Sport. Charlie said he couldn't wait to join Sonny. He said it's good, we can fight on the same shows, which he's always wanted to do. It's a new chapter, it's good. Charlie said he's put the past behind him. He's already won a world title at 1 weight and he's looking forward to becoming a 2-weight world champion. And what better place to do it than on BT with his brother? I don't know, maybe Charlie didn't want him to come over to BT and perhaps take the spotlight away from him. You stay on MATCHROOM, let me stay here. I don't know what it is. I haven't got a clue. If anyone can expand on it, give their take, if they know anything, let me know. May the 1st, we've got the big showdown on Sky. Joseph Parker versus Derek Chisora. Joseph Parker is now working with Andy Lee. He's got rid of Kevin Barry. And Derek Chisora is now with Buddy McGirt. Now, who's going to benefit from the change of Coach Moore out of Parker and Chisora? Well, a lot of people have been slamming Kevin Barry for a long time, critiquing Joseph Parker for a lack of killer instinct. Is that down to Kevin Barry? I don't know. Last time out, Derek Chisora fought Alexander Usyk, and he had some strength and conditioning MMA people. That's what Dillian White described them as. Alex Demetres, I think, was Derek's head coach on the night. And a lot of people weren't impressed with Demetres as the choice of coach. But as much as it's Derek Chisora's fault, what was David Haye playing at? How did David Haye allow that? So now he has Buddy McGirt. Those who don't know, Buddy McGirt won belts at 2 different weights in the 90s and was one of the best fighters in the game. He won belts at light welter and welterweight. And David Haye, he says he's never seen Derek as connected with a coach as he is with Buddy. He thinks the experience factor really means a lot to Derek. But the thing is, yeah, I remember Buddy changing Arturo Gatti after the Mickey Ward Wars, changing him to more of a boxer, if you like, than pure slugger. Is this what Derek needs, or is he going to approach coaching Derek differently? Maybe not change too much and just add a few tweaks and bits and pieces here and there. Buddy McGirt actually said he's never seen Derek Chisora fight. And Derek was explaining it away and making jokes. He said, yeah, why would he want to see me fight? And I was thinking, well, okay. Were them MMA guys really as bad as everyone was saying? Was it them who got Derek to switch southpaw and out-jab Usyk at times? Is Derek actually a better boxer than we're giving him credit for? Could he be receptive to some different strategies rather than brawling from Buddy McGirt? Well, we'll see on the night. Andy Lee, Joseph Parker's new coach. I believe Parker is now in camp with Tyson Fury in America. I don't know what Andy offers, in all truth, because he was the support coach or the backup coach to Ben Davison when Fury drew with Wilder, and he was also support to Sugar Hill when Fury beat Wilder. So I don't know. I know he's came up under Manny Stewart, so he contributed to the Kronk style that has infamously been connected to Tyson Fury's win against Wilder. What Parker and Chisora have in common in terms of their coaching situations, like I said, a lot of people have been critical of Kevin Barry for years, just like a lot of people were very critical of Don Charles when he was training Derek, although they achieved a whole lot from where they came from, where they started, you know. Derek hadn't been boxing that long before he won an ABA title. I believe I may have critiqued Kevin Barry as well, but at the same time, he coached Joseph Parker to a world title, and they made a fortune together. They fought AJ, Dillian, Andy Ruiz, beat Andy Ruiz, Carlos Takam. In fact, they've both fought very tough opposition and haven't done badly against some of the best in the game. Now, somebody's got to lose unless the unlikely outcome of a draw happens. At first, before Parker contracted the spider bite, I had Derek winning. Then after Derek lost against Usyk, I wasn't too sure. And I'm still in the middle, and that's just where I'm at right now. Probably go for Parker on points. Remember Frank Warren slagging off Eddie Hearn about promoting Logan Paul and KSI? Well, what's changed? Because Frank seems to be pushing really hard for this Jake Paul-Tommy Fury fight. But who's Tommy Fury? Tommy Fury is not a household name in the UK. He's known amongst boxing people and a few kids who watch Love Island, perhaps. He's not that big a deal, man. He really ain't that big a deal. And in America, I think these people get a bit deluded with what they are in the UK. You might make a few splashes in the UK, but in America, Tommy Fury's nothing. It's kind of like John Fury. Remember when he put his name in the mix? When he backed out of the Mickey Theo fight, he put his name in the mix to fight Evander Holyfield and Tyson instead on the Senior Citizen store. And James Toney and all them guys. Nobody knows you out there. You're not going to be fighting Holyfield or Tyson. There's just no way. John was 8-4-1 as a pro. His best wins are probably Steve Garber, Michael Murray, and names like that, like Journeyman. And in his last fight, Steve Garber avenged his loss to John and knocked him out. There's no buzz for John Fury to fight in America. And there's no real buzz in America about Tommy Fury facing Jake Paul. Frank? Are Triller really calling out for Tommy Fury right now? No. They don't need you. They don't need you. Dana White is in the process of taking out a lawsuit against Triller because he believes that Snoop and Jake are clout chasing off names like Daniel Cormier and Tyrone Woodley. These are huge names over there. These are the people whose names are in the mix when you're talking about Triller. Not John Fury, not Tommy Fury. You might as well throw Shane Fury in the mix as well. At least he's really big and will stand out. Oscar's another one. He had a lot to say about Floyd when he fought Conor McGregor, and now he's making his comeback on the senior citizen celebrity circuit. I don't know who his opponent is going to be. Oscar was hitting them 8 balls hard on Saturday, though. He was. He reckons he had a couple of drinks. He apologized for his commentary on Saturday. It sounded like more than a couple of drinks, Oscar. Unless he had a real low tolerance to the strength of the alcohol he was drinking. I don't know why Oscar apologized, because he was pretty funny for the most part. Okay, so Michael McKINSON, he said he's got big news coming. He beat Chris Kongo in a battle of the undefeateds. Good domestic clash it was. He says his team at MTK Global are the best in the business. Promotional deal secured. Looking to be out by July, August. News coming soon. So, who's he signing with? MATCHROOM? That's where he fought last. He was asking Eddie if it was winner stays on. Is Eddie going to hook him up? BT? Frank Warren? Maybe Channel 5. Maybe Mick Hennessy's hooked him up. Where's it going? How good is he? Leonard Ellaby was furious with Mike Coppinger yesterday on Twitter. Mike Coppinger said, sources, Al Heyman acquired rights to Mayweather Logan Paul and is using the event as leverage to try and obtain a bigger deal from CBS Showtime, with Fox deal set to expire this year. Now, according to Leonard Ellaby, Floyd owns all his rights and hasn't sold the rights to Al Heyman. He's not happy with what Coppinger's having to say. You know, he accused Mike of throwing out inaccurate numbers on some of the PBC pay-per-views, and he wasn't happy. But is this true? Is it all over? Will there be a PBC Fox schedule following the Showtime schedule we just saw? And isn't it a little sad that you have to use Mayweather, Jake Paul, to try and get some leverage and a better deal with Showtime? I mean, the PBC fans, you've been talking up Errol Spence as the face of boxing for a minute. And Deontay Wilder, right? How big and how huge and they're this and that. And you're having to use Mayweather to leverage a deal with CBS and Showtime. We better hope, and I say we, because I'm not going to say you. I'm going to say we as boxing fans better hope this isn't true. That Coppinger might be spinning one here. We better hope. Tommy Hearns was 22, 23 years old when he fought Ray Leonard. Ray was 25. This was in 1981. This was a unification that Ray Leonard won by stoppage. Before this fight, Ray Leonard had already beat Ayub Kaluli, unbeaten, light middleweight, for the WBA title. He had already achieved this, 23 years of age. 2 weight classes. A year and change after Hearns had lost to Leonard, he had already become WBC super welterweight champion by beating Wilfred Benitez. 24 years of age. They're already conquering weight classes. By the time Tommy was 30 and Ray was in his early 30s, they had won world titles at 5 different weights. Now Leonard, is a bit of a cheap shot how Leonard got there, but nevertheless, Crawford, say what you want, he's a free-weight champion and he's been undisputed in one of them weight classes. Errol Spence is still in his first weight class and hasn't had his career-defining fight against the main rival of his era yet, and he's 31 years of age. Crawford is 33, still hasn't had his career-defining fight against Terence Crawford, and it all started because of this side of the street politics. Neither Spence or Crawford, and I'm going to put them as the same generation. How have you not fought each other and you're the same generation, and the generation behind you are now calling you out, like Virgil Ortiz and Boots Ennis? By the time Tommy and Ray were done with the welterweight division, if Don Curry wanted to challenge them, he became the welterweight king, following behind their footsteps. He had to jump up to middle and light middle if he wanted to challenge them. And Milton McCrory. They couldn't be calling out Ray and Tommy because they were done with the weight class. They already exhausted all what was there. Like, let's talk about Spence. You haven't fought Thurman, who beat Danny Garcia and beat Porter, which are Errol Spence's 2 biggest wins of his career. Porter and Garcia, who Thurman beat twice. You haven't beat him, and you haven't beat Crawford. And you're 31 years of age. And you've got the newcomers also calling you out. That means you haven't done your job properly as a boxer. It's as simple as that. And that's the problem with the PBC. And let's be fair, the Thurman and Spence fight hasn't happened because both of them have ducked the fight at different stages of their career. And like I say, it's the problem with the PBC. Different time and era, but, Mayweather, age 38, richest sportsman ever, won belts at multiple weight classes, one of the most famous boxers ever, one of the best boxers ever. By the time he was these guys' age 31, when he beat Oscar, he was pound for pound king, pay-per-view king, cash cow king. He actually started all this A-side nonsense that Spence tries to proclaim that he is, that he isn't. And that's the problem. You're too full of fashion out there. You need to carve out your own lane. Everybody's sick of the bootleg Mayweather impersonations. Everybody's sick of it. Outside a little stupid circle of boxing fans over there. Trying to kiss up rappers on the settee is not cool. And the stupid dances you were doing, I'm not going to put your name to it. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Not cool. Yeah? Big 6'7" guy twerking. Not cool. None of it cool. Turning down 120 million to fight for undisputed. None of it cool. You know what I mean? And that's the problem with the PBC. And look at it. Comes around full circle. You're relying on Mayweather to save your non-productive boxing platform over there. With all the potential you have over there. 200 fighters, and you've got some good fighters there. And there's no need for it to be at this stage here. Anyway, I'm done.